Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday night coverage of the Full Send Racing Series. It's Season 5 playoff time. It's the last race of the round of 8 to see who will run for a championship in 2 weeks. Here for the Full Send Racing drivers. And tonight, we go short track racing to figure out who's running for the championship. We head to Martinsville for the next level racing 200 here at Martinsville. 200 laps, stage break at lap 60, no fast repairs, four sets of tires in pit road, and all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is going to be Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, certainly a wild race that we're getting ourselves prepared for, because these drivers, looking at the times, everyone's on top of one another.
Yeah, times are really close here in practice, and we're short track racing, Sam, and this is a cutoff race to get to that championship 4, and 3 drivers for sure in a must-win situation, and 1 driver hoping that the guys in front of him has struggled a little bit here tonight. We're going to be in for a pretty good race here.
It certainly should be an amazing one for these drivers, as they've just gotten done with practice, qualifying about to start. And before we start to look at the drivers, let's take a look at what the picture is looking like for these drivers in this field, because it is very close on points for some. It's not even close for others on how these point standings are. And Trevor, we know one thing's for sure. Zach Hull, after his win last week, has automatically locked himself into a spot to run for a championship in 2 weeks. Ross Tatum is going to be second in points. He's got a 24-point buffer in second position. Ken Campbell's got a 16-point buffer for himself coming into this night. But the driver on the bubble spot, Chris Stitz, only a 9-point buffer to work with. Fifth is John Dart. He's the first car outside with the 9 points that he needs to gain to get by Chris Stitz. Will Bustler is 6th in points with 17 points being away from making it into our final 4. Cameron Sartin, the 2-time champ, he is 20 points out, and Kyle Carpenter is 21 points out. Practically, Will Bustler, Cameron Sartin, and Kyle Carpenter in a must-win scenario if they don't get massive points at our stage break.
Yeah, those 3 are going to be in that must-win scenario unless something goes wrong for that of, Ross Tatum, Campbell, and Chris Stitz, and those 3 get massive stage points. It's going to be, John Dart that's going to be the interesting one here, with him only being 9 points behind Chris Stitz. If he gets a good enough qualifying run here and can get some good stage points, and Chris struggles, we could see John continue his kind of Cinderella run through the playoffs into the championship 4 here tonight. But I think, Sam, it's going to take a win from one of those 4 drivers outside our top 4 to upset one of the other guys.
And one driver I've got circled up, it's got to be Cameron Sartin. He might be 21 points out, but it is so crucial for Cameron Sartin, because this has been an off-season for himself. Yet to win a race this season. He was close at Richmond, another short track we were at, but he got the pull at this track last season. He's hoping to get the pull once again for himself as the 24 starts his first lap for qualifying.
I caught a little bit of that inside curb, though, there through 1 and 2. That might upset that 24 truck just a little bit here on his first lap, but thankfully, as another lap to go, we'll see right now Austin Call on the pole with a 19.46 over that of Kyle Carpenter, who put in a good lap. Cameron's first lap ended at 19.67, so he's going to have to find a little over 2/10 here if he wants to get the pole position. But that first lap, just trying to get some heat in the tires. We'll see what he can do here on lap number 2 as he goes into 3 and 4.
11th place was that first lap timing. Now trying to stay close to the bottom side. Back into the throttles, the 24, and across the line, Cameron Sartin got the pole here last season. Will he do it again? And the 24, not going to be able to do so. He just moves up a couple of positions up to 9th place. Austin Call holds his position. Here's a couple of other drivers that have been looking quick. It's Travis Dart as well as the 30 of Charles Hugel. Those are going to be the 2 drivers that I'm curious on how fast they're going to be. Charles Hugel looking for one of his best qualifying times for the 30, currently 14th with his first time with a 19.7. But as he comes out of turn number 4, Hugel crossed the line. Can he crack the top 10 for the 30 machine? As we look at the time, and it will not bounce him forward. As the next driver on track, it's the 26 of Travis Dart.
And Dart coming through 3 and 4 to start his first lap, and taking a little bit different of approach, going high through 3, arcing it down out of 4 to get a really good run here down the front straightaway. See, to set him up for a quick time on his first lap. See how that's going to work out for him as he goes through 1 and 2. Really nice entry through there, good exit, nice and smooth down the back straightaway. for himself into 3 and 4. We'll see what this time is going to be for that 26. Was up there in the practice times in the top 5. So here he comes out of turn number 4 across the line for Travis Dart, and it's going to bump him up to that of 3rd.
That is a fast time for the 26, who's been very good at qualifying in recent days. Here's some of the other drivers that have been waiting until the very end to put their qualifying times in. 55 seconds left, and it's going to be Ryan Lynch that you see on screen trying to get his first lap started. Is this 3 machine? Other drivers are qualifying. John Dart, he's on his last lap. He was 13th on the timing board. Watch out where the 99 might be placing himself as the 3 sets himself to finish lap number 1.
And coming across to finish lap number 1, John Dart finishes his qualifying lap, and that's going to keep him in 13th position for that 99 machine. Lynch across the line for his first lap, and he's going to be all the way down there in 20th position. So going to look for a big pickup here on lap number 2 with a 20.9 for himself. So really trying to set this 3 machine up for a good second lap.
Out of turn number 4, Ryan Lynch. It was a 20.9 on his first time. It's going to be a 19.7, but the 30 machine in 17th position. And with that, qualifying is done. The drivers have now set themselves in the position for tonight's race. A racetrack that's known for bringing out cautions and big wrecks, big spills is going to be our final destination of the round of 8. And let's see where the drivers are starting out here tonight as we get our qualifying results up. Big thanks to all the amazing sponsors here at Full Send Racing Series, Live Traffic Podcast, ButtKicker, and Next Level Racing. As Austin Call in the 18 machine going to be taking that first place position for the pole. Kyle Carpenter, driver who's practically in a must-win scenario, second. 77 knows what's on the line. He'll be up front in that first row with Travis Dart in 3rd. Andrew Medlin, who's won at this track multiple times before. He's going to hope to do another great run in 4th position. Ken Campbell in 5th. 6th is going to be Christopher Norris filling in the 68 machine. 2nd and that is 7th is going to be the 2 machine of Jonathan Woods with Ross Tatum in 8th. 9th position is going to be Zach Hall and Cameron Sarn finishing out your top 10.
Chris Stitz will roll off in 11th with Brian Cole filling in the 9 machine in 12th. John Dart in 13th. Will Bustler will start in 14th with Nick Holland filling in for the 42 in 15th. Charles Hugel in 16th. Ryan Lynch will start 17th with Philip Chavez in 18th. And then Jonathan Casebeer and Sam Siegel will round out our top 20 drivers.
Joshua Altus will be in 21st position. Dylan Glass running in his own scheme in 22nd position in the 25 truck, and Bill Dart as fill-in driver for the 52. Big shout out to Steve Benjamin, who's going to be our race control for this evening. 23 trucks expected to race here tonight, and I gotta say, Trevor, this certainly has got to be an exciting moment for Will Butler, Cam Sark, and Kyle Carpenter, because if they get a good points at the stage, they're still eligible to point their way in. It might be a huge long shot to point their way into the final 4, but at least it is possible to happen.
Yeah, I think the getting good stage points is going to be important, but for those guys, I mean, you look at where they're starting. Cameron's starting all the way down there in 10th, so I mean, he's getting stage points based off of where he's starting, but I'm sure he'd like to get a little bit more. Will Bustler down the field along with John Dart, and then Kyle Carpenter obviously starting in 2nd, so he's got the best shot of them all to get maximum stage points. But I think you're going to see those guys be aggressive, try to get up through the field as best they can, which I think in turn will make this first 60 laps until we get to that stage break pretty exciting.
And the driver that has won this race at Martinsville, all 3 previous races that have been ran here, the driver that's led the most laps wins the race. The first race that was ran, Andrew Edlin, only driver to get the pole, lead the most laps, and win the race. So Austin Call hoping to bring in a little bit of Season 1 magic that of the 12 had. But for everyone that's out there on track, Trevor, Martinsville certainly a tough track for themselves. The track position already has been grabbed before the start of this race, but what can you do if you're deeper in the field and try to move your way forward?
You just got to be patient, or you can go the other route and use the bumper to try to move people out of your way and get by them. But I think if you're patient here, kind of let the race come to you. Don't burn up the rear tires or the front tires trying to stay to the bottom of somebody. I think you can get some passes done over the course of a long run, but we'll just have to wait and see how these drivers choose to attack one another throughout the course of the night.
Ace car into pit road. It's now in the hands of Austin Call as the drivers enter 3 and 4 and exit out of 4. It's time for us to get to next level racing 200 action. The last race of the round of 8. Who's going to win and fight for a championship? Down into turn number 1, it's Austin Call, Kyle Copperter trying to keep themselves up front the best that they can. The 77 trying to get himself in line with the 18. They continue to stay side by side through that 3 and 4.
Carpenter trying to do the best he can to hold that outside line over Austin Call, but not quite going to be able to keep it side by side with him. He's going to fall back to second. Travis Dart up to that of third. Andrew Medlin in fourth. Norris, Christopher Norris and Ken Campbell fighting side by side with one another. And that fight's going to get single filed out as Norris will have to give that spot up to Ken Campbell. Ross Tatum falls in line behind them, and everybody, Sam, I think so far single filed out now.
Top 6 positions stay where they qualified, in line and staying single file. The question is, for how long do you stay in this position? 68, Christopher Norris has ran a lot of laps here at Martinsville in other leagues that we've covered. A very late substitution, though, to fill in for the 68 is we'll see what that fill-in driver can bring out tonight. But here's the driver that we know can be fast at the short tracks. It's Ross Tatum in the 21, winner of the championship last season, in the best points-wise position coming into tonight with that 24-point advantage. The 21, where he runs right now, is exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, for Ross, he just needs to have a clean race here tonight. Doesn't have to do anything spectacular. Can grab a couple of stage points, but just overall needs to have a solid finish, and he has no issues making it to that championship four to run for a to go for his back-to-back championships this season. But you know, it's Martinsville, Sam. Anything can happen. All it takes is one wrong bump or being in the wrong place at the wrong time that could really upset your race.
And something we actually were talking about and kind of brought up before we went live, the weather. The fact that we're running under the daylight, very different from other playoff systems where sometimes you find yourself running in the nighttime. What is this daytime factor going to bring? Because this track temp, a little bit cooler than I was expecting, only 93 degrees on the track temp and 67 degrees ambient temperature.
Yeah, a little cooler than what, you know, also what I thought it was going to be, but with it being during the day, we saw it a lot in practice, and you might see it over the course of a long run here tonight. Really easy to get these trucks sideways on corner exit as you try to get the power down in these trucks, and with it being kind of that warm, it's going to make that even more difficult for these drivers to keep it straight out of the corners. We've already seen a couple drivers have a little bit of slides out of 2 and out of turn number 4, so something that we'll have to keep an eye on over the course of the race is how that's going to how the temperature is going to affect the grip levels off the corners.
And also get to see here the gearing and how fast these drivers building up to almost 120 miles per hour, entering the corners, dropping it by a half, getting down to almost 60 miles per hour at their slowest in these corners, as we're looking at that of Cameron Sarton back in 9th position. And Cameron Sarton being in a must-win scenario. Bizarre to think. I think at the start of the season we could say pretty confidently, Trevor, that was a driver we expected 100% to make it to the Final Four, but he's in a do-or-die situation.
Yeah, it's so bizarre to see Cameron in this situation, and not having a win on the season too is kind of just uncharacteristic for that 24 machine. But I mean, hey, that can happen. He's had some bad luck throughout the course of the season, some self-inflicted, some by just incidents happening in front of him. And here tonight, I think for Cameron is just get to that stage break, hope nothing bad happens, and then have something for these guys at the end of the race.
Driver, though, that is on the cut line. Watch out for the 17 of Chris Stitz, who's deeper back in 11th position. But the 2 going to be seeing that of Jonathan Woods, who we haven't really talked big about this 2 machine this season. Missed out on the playoff, missed out on making it to the round of 8. Made the playoffs at least for the 2 machine. And we're currently, right now, right in 8th place. It's a good start for the 2. And seeing, drivers that try to step up late in the season, try to find that momentum for the next season that's right around the corner.
Yeah, and he got the win at Daytona to start the season off, locked himself into the playoffs, caught the curb there a little bit down there in 1 and 2, got that truck upset, though, and that's going to allow Cameron Sarton to his inside, and this might bring along the 32 of Zach Hall, the 17 of Chris Stitz, the 9 of Brian Cole along with them. I mean, the downside to Martinsville is once you get out of that inside line, it's kind of a freight train until you can fall back in line. But for Jonathan Woods, though, Sam, I mean, got that win at Daytona. We went kind of quiet there a little bit through the middle of the season, started to turn things back up toward the end of it, and had a really good opening round of the playoffs. But the Indianapolis road course kind of got to that 2 machine, had a rough go of it there and knocked himself out of the playoffs, but nonetheless, a good rookie season for that 2 machine.
Very good rookie season. Some of his best finishes of the season have been at the short tracks. 3rd place at Bristol and a 6th at Richmond. As seeing the 9 fill-in driver Brian Cole trying to make the pass here on Jonathan Woods. The 9 has been struggling to have some good finishes, but during the middle of the race, it's been amazing to watch how much Brian Cole fill-in driver. Usually we see that of Brian Wilson driving, and this 9 always seems to find a way up front, especially at these short tracks.
Yeah, Brian Cole's shown speed, and it just hasn't equated to the finishes. He's been caught up in some incidents, and some incidents throughout his time filling in. But I mean, he showed speed, especially at the start of runs. Sometimes in the middle of it, it's the long run that 9's kind of struggled on. But right now, working his way up through the field up to 11th, Will Bustler kind of following suit as he was able to get around Jonathan Woods there in the 2, and John Dart not too far behind them. But for Will Bustler, Sam, coming in tonight, 17 points out of that top 4 positions. He's going to need to continue to move through the field and get up there toward the front and probably win this race if he wants to advance that Championship 4 race.
But being so deep in the field, the race isn't over. If we look at the stats from last season, Zach Hall qualified in 15th spot, but found himself in a victory lane. So for a lot of these drivers deeper in the field, the race isn't completely over. But I think a lot of them recognizing if you're going to point your way into making the final 4, this stage is crucial. Stage break going to be at the end of lap 60 as we find ourselves being 1/3 done with that stage. So we're on lap 20, about to get this over with. But Austin Cole still leading the way. As you see here, Will Bustler back in 12th. But the 18 machine, Trevor, you were throwing it out. Maybe Austin Cole could be a driver to watch out for before we went live. I mean, he's looking fabulous right now. Up front, holding back Kyle Carpenter and Travis Dart.
Don't jinx him, Sam. I don't need the curse of the commentator right now on the 18 of Austin Cole. Yeah, I mean, he's shown speed, especially in qualifying. And at the short tracks, you think back to North of Wilkesboro, had a really good qualifying run. Got, I think, turned around at one point at North of Wilkesboro, took 4 tires, almost got back up to the front. I think had there been one more caution, Austin might have had a chance to win that race. I think he ended up 3rd. But has shown speed, just struggled to get the finishes. I think that he's really wanted to have this season, but looking good here early on, 23 laps into this race. But I gotta say, Kyle Carpenter and Travis Dart, they're not too far behind him, and they're slowly starting to reel that 18 machine in.
And for some of these drivers, we've talked about tire wear being the big point that hurts them on the long run for these drivers. But with us being at a short track like Martinsville, how much is tire wear going to be a factor as well, like we've seen at some of the 1.5 mile tracks that we've always talked about? Hey, Travis Dart's going to fall back. Right now, he's still in 3rd.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much the front tires that you have to worry about here at the short track, unless you're doing a lot of locking the brakes up, getting into the corner, meaning that you're over driving it, having to really get on the brakes and sliding that front tire. I think it's going to be the rear tire that you really kind of have to worry about here. And that's going to affect you on corner exit. And that's where we'll start to see drivers make up time, with drivers not being able to get back to the throttle as much as they want to on corner exit or sliding around. That's going to be where they're going to have to conserve the tire. It's going to be that right rear tire on these trucks.
Well, tire wear going to be something to watch out for later on, as we are now 25 laps completed here at a 200. Stage break's going to be at the end of lap 60, and usually we don't talk about lap cars until about 40 laps into a run, but we will start to see lap traffic potentially at lap 45 to lap 50. And the last car that's going to be caught up is Sam Siegel currently, but Austin Cole currently at this moment looking good. But behind him, Kyle Carpenter, Travis Dart, out in their little bit of squabbling with one another for 2nd position. And Travis Dart going to be up to now 2nd position.
Yeah, I think Travis was a little bit might be a little bit faster than that of Austin Cole, and kind of felt the 77 was holding him up, but able to get around that of Kyle. And now we'll see here if he can run down Austin Cole. Looking at the lap times, Austin was about a 10th quicker than that of Travis Dart, but that was with Travis, I believe, making that pass on Kyle. So we'll have to see what that lap time is going to be for him this time by. But, hey, Travis having a really good early run here for himself, and if this continues, he might have a shot here, Sam, to maybe get a win.
Travis Dart still searching for that win. He's had a couple of really good finishes, 2 7th-place finishes at Las Vegas and Charlotte. Got a 5th one at Michigan, and also got 2nd place at Talladega. So trying to find some better momentum as he's He's got 9 total top 10s for this 26, and obviously he's been trying to find the swing and consistency. Just missed out on making the playoffs, and was able to watch his brother kind of race on and seeing the 99 make it this far in the playoffs. Got to be proud of that factor, but I know for the 26, a win is wanted badly with some of the great runs that he's had this season.
Yeah, and I mean, he's had speed in qualifying, I believe 3 poles this season, and had the speed in the short runs pretty much all season long. It's been the long run consistency that's really kind of bothered this 26 machine. You know, here 31 laps into the race, we're starting to close in on our leader. Austin Call dropped it down, but now by about 2/10. And that last time by a 10th quicker than Austin Call. So this 26 machine really looking good here in the early stages.
The lap times also for drivers deeper in the field. Drivers are looked to be held up pretty badly by Andrew Medlin and Ken Campbell. Christopher Norris, Ross Tatum, as well as Cameron Sarton looking pretty quick just outside of the top 10. They are trying to find their way to get by the 15 and the 12 that are being a wall once again. Maybe it's not for the lead like we've seen these last almost month and a half, 2 months, but instead they're being a wall back here for 4th and as well 5th position.
Yeah, I mean, the teammates back at it again, following nose to tail with one another. But I feel like every time we've seen them nose to tail, something bad's always happened to that of Ken Campbell, and that's not what he needs here tonight. Comes in with a 16-point gap, but if he finds any trouble, he could find himself being, could find himself potentially getting knocked out of the chance to run for a championship in 2 weeks at Phoenix. But right now, definitely looks like he is holding up Christopher Norris, Ross Tatum, Cameron Sarton, and Zach Hall as they close in on the 77 of Carpenter, who's starting to fall back to this group. This is kind of where everybody's bunched up at right now.
It was interesting. We talk about drivers trying to find consistency in some fashion as we right on board with Christopher Norris in the 68, get a sense of what it's like to be in the trucks through these corners and how difficult it is. But the consistency that we've seen a lot of these drivers these last month and a half of drivers that are around one another, it's always incredible to see. But will the consistency of drivers who get caught up in messes and wrecks, will that carry forward? But as we continue to ride on with the 68 machine here, I mean, Travis, anything that you're noticing that this handling is looking like as we're on board with Christopher Norris?
Everything looks fairly normal from Christopher Norris's point of view. Looks a little bit of correction there on corner exit, but that's, I mean, we're almost 40 laps into the run here, and so not surprised to see that. But it does a really good job getting down right to the curbing there in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just nowhere to really go. Hasn't been able to really get any kind of run on that of Ken Campbell in front of him. You see him close up right there to the rear bumper.
There was a truck just teleported who was on the backstretch. That was Bill Dart, who had to come to a halt, and somehow it didn't bring out a caution, even though there was oncoming traffic and the car was pointing sideways. We continue to stay green.
Huh. Well, looking back, it looks like just lost it out of 2 and gets caught in the inside wall there and had to tow back to pit lane. Interesting event there for the 52 of Bill Dart, but somehow, like you said, I mean, no caution even with cars coming on. And really interesting at Martinsville, usually any type of little spin causes a caution, but no caution. We stay green and back up to this little battle and gaggle of cars. Everybody's still just nose to tail waiting for the person in front of them to make a mistake.
Watching these drivers right now, this is Zach Hall, Cameron Sarton, Ross Tatum, all these drivers inside of the top 10. Remember, that is behind Zach Hall is going to be Chris Stitz, who finds himself being the last driver in our top 10, trying to get that last bonus point that's going to help him make a buffer over John Dart and others, keeping at least minimizing any gap that Al Carpenter was going to try to cut into that difference. But wild things at this moment, Trevor, really looking at how the fact that this field, you're seeing it on our ticker board, the playoff drivers in blue are still trying to point their way into the Final Four. Zach Hall in green because he locked himself into the Final Four after his win last week. But seeing drivers really trying to climb into the top 10, recognizing how crucial these points are.
Yeah, I think for all the playoff guys, you know, apart from Zach Hall wanting those stage points to try to close the gap, knowing that, hey, that might help me if somebody has some issues at some point in time in this race. And right now, Kyle Carpenter of our championship or of our playoff drivers is the one that's going to get the most right now, running in 3rd. Ken Campbell back there in 5th, and then you've got that of Tatum Cameron Sarton, Zach Hall, Chris Stitz, all right there. It's going to be, John Dart, who really needs the points, but right now sits back there outside the top 10, all the way down there in 13th position.
Love this camera view, getting to see the top end and getting to see the train of drivers trying to get by one another. Still leading this pack is Andrew Medlin, as well as that of Ken Campbell. They're about to be catching up to Kyle Carpenter, which Carpenter, with 15 laps to go in this stage, cannot afford to lose any more positions. He needs to keep every spot possible, otherwise he's going to be turning into a must-win scenario where he's going to be joining the fray of Cameron Sarton and others that are in the same spot that he's in. As 77 was doing his best to climb every position possible, but also with Bill Dart being knocked out of this race because of having to take the tow. This now turns it only to 21 positions are out there on track, technically 20, because of the fact if you win, you're in. This is really losing a lot of points for drivers that are going to need them. It's going to turn a lot of those drivers that are outside of our top 4 into the must-win as we look at our Andrew Medlin and Cam and the focus and the wheelmanship, trying to keep this truck steady.
Yeah, every time we go to Andrew Medlin, I mean, he is straight-faced, laser-focused, and you can see how much wheel input he's having to put into that 12 machine to get it around the corners. A bit of correction there on corner exit, but I mean, just watch how much he turns this wheel to the left to get this truck to hook around what is essentially that curbing there in 3 and 4, which I believe is no longer there. I think they got rid of the grass in real life, but here in iRacing still have the grass to contend with, which can cause a little bit of issues if you get up on the curbing there. But right now Andrew doing a really good job navigating that, trying to close in on the 77 of Kyle Carpenter, but they're running pretty equal times, but he's slowly pulling away from his teammate, the 15, and Ken Campbell.
I'm so interested in looking at Andrew Medlin's hands. I mean, you see in the bottom right, because he is U-turning the wheel so much compared to what we see on sim, how much he's turning. That's going to be indication his steering ratio is completely different from what I was expecting to see it.
Yeah, so one of the adjustments you can make as a driver, you can change your steering ratio, and you can have it to where you have to put a lot of wheel input into it to get it to turn, or a little bit of wheel input to turn it. It's kind of a driver's preference, and to me, it looks like Andrew running a slightly higher or a slightly lower ratio, I believe, is the way they go in the trucks. It's been a while since I've had to mess with one of those, but having to put a lot of wheel input into it just to get to the truck to turn the way he wants it, it comes down to a driver's feel, and maybe that's how he feels most comfortable with getting around here, and it's working out for him as he currently runs in 4th.
Still holding in 4th place as they're trying to figure out how to get by Sam Siegel, who's a lap down driver in the 55. 2 drivers have gone a lap down that are still out on track, Sam Siegel and Jonathan K-Spear. K-Spear kind of ducked out of everyone's way immediately. Siegel, you're going to be seeing here off the exit of the corner as he stays high, lets the field go. And now he's going to be allowing Andrew Medlin to try to attack, to go for 3rd place before this stage is done. Again, stage break at the end of lap 60. The yellow flag will be thrown. Only the top 10 drivers get bonus points, where the winner gets 10 bonus points, second gets 9, third gets 8. It continues to trickle down until we get to 10th place, where the last driver gets just 1 bonus point. Everyone outside of the top 10 don't get stage bonus points, so it's crucial to be there in those spots. That's why you're seeing so many drivers in blue marching their way forward. Up front, still Austin Call, Travis Dart, your top 2, with Kyle Carpenter in 3rd place, the driver that might be looking the most vulnerable, with Andrew Medlin trying to close in this gap as they're coming to 6 laps to go.
Yeah, Kyle's still just slowly falling back, but Andrew hasn't really been able to run him down. And again, the lap times this time by, we'll see, it looks like Andrew 2/10 quicker that time by. Kyle, I think, starting to really struggle on these tires and losing a little bit of time, but catching him is one thing, getting around him is another thing, and we've kind of seen this train that's formed up. It's hard to make passes here at Martinsville unless somebody makes a mistake, so Andrew might be able to catch him, but I don't know if he's going to be able to pass him.
Yeah, unless you want to use the bumper, which I don't know if you want to be making enemies this early into a Martinsville race. But interesting note, I haven't seen a yellow yet here tonight. Could have seen one with Bill Dart's self-spin, but luckily it did not bring out a yellow. We continue to stay green. This race here at Martinsville has had highs of cautions, up to 14 cautions during one race. That was back in season 2, and a low of 8 cautions. That was last season when they were in the Xfinity car. How many cautions will we find out today? We know at least one will come out, and that's at our stage break at the end of lap 60. As Ross Tatum, Christopher Norris trying to still figure out how to get by that of Andrew Medlin, Ken Campbell, but they are slowly catching up to Kyle Carpenter, but that 12 machine, excuse me, looking very dangerous off the exit of 4.
Yeah, I've noticed that the last couple of laps looks a little bit loose. I've seen him out of 2 almost get into the outside wall with the truck kind of stepping out on him as he's now caught Kyle Carpenter, almost caught up to Kyle Carpenter, but this is coming to the last lap here of the stage. I don't think he's going to get to that 77 machine, but the 12 definitely starting to slide on corner exit, trying to get back to that power as quickly as he can to catch that 77 machine.
And as the field comes around entering turn 3, Austin Call, Travis Dart, they exit at turn number 4 and they cross the line. They're going to wait until 10th place crosses the line. That's going to be Chris Stitz, who's just about to come around the corner in the bend. And that will be our stage yellow throne. Austin Call will just caught up to the main traffic on the tail end of the field, so they will luckily stay on the lead lap. But that is going to be our first caution of the day. With our stage yellow, going to have Austin Call leading the way for himself. And Trevor, what a run for this 18 machine.
I mean, it's a great run for Austin Call. Great first 60 laps for himself. Really clean, looked pretty consistent, all run long. Was able to fend off the 26 of Travis Dart once he caught up to him. Now, you got to get through these pit stops here. You can't slide through your box, make any mistakes, so you can get out there, keep that track position, and stay in the lead, and see if he can continue to hold on to it.
And based off the way the points are, still looks to be for that of Cameron Sarton, Kyle Carpenter in a mix. Just because of the amount of drivers are still fighting for positions, they can still technically point their way in, but they're going to need a lot of help seeing Chris Stitz kind of fall and wreck at some point during this race and finish outside of the top 18, which means he's got to wreck up pretty quick as Austin Call tries to stay out there. Looking at the points, though, looking like here, Trevor, everyone might be in a must-win scenario as John Dart did not find himself getting any stage points.
Yeah, I think, for John, Will, Cameron, and Kyle, I think they're going to be in that must-win scenario. I don't think Stitz is running a pretty clean race. And granted, he only got that 1 stage point, but I mean, Sam, he really doesn't need to get a lot of points, doesn't need to put himself in a position to get wrecked. Coming in with that buffer, now has a 10-point buffer over that of John Dart with the 1 stage point that he got. And for Cameron Sarton and Kyle Carpenter, yeah, they got good stage points, but still, with how far back they were, 20 points and 21 points respectively coming into tonight, they're going to need that win to move on. And I mean, with Cameron being that far back, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. I mean, Kyle looks pretty good, but in the long run, that 77 really started to fade. So it's going to be interesting to see in the second half of the race what's going to happen.
That it will. Let's see if we can talk to our stage winner. That's going to be the 18 of Austin Call. Austin, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, you find yourself winning the stage. We're about to get ourselves back to Green Flag Racing here shortly. But, man, how's that truck feeling? Because you look solid out there.
Definitely sketchy, but it feels like a rocket ship. The car, it's very, very loose, but I feel like I might actually be less loose than everybody else, the way I'm seeing, like, Travis and Kyle get wiggly out there. But it's getting sketchy at times, but it feels like a rocket ship.
I mean, Austin, what's going to be the key here in the second half of this race to continue to dominate and possibly get your first win here?
Definitely saving tires, first of all. I feel like I could have done better at saving a little bit, and then also not getting run over, really. I feel like if I keep a good gap behind me, I think I'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like some solid strategies there, Austin. I know we're getting back to Green Flag Racing, so we'll send you back to your team, and good luck, and hopefully talk to you at the end of the race.
All right, thank you.
That's going to be Ambush Racer of Austin Call. Sadly, from Ambush Racing, Jonathan Casebeer has called it a night early for the 8 machine as he already went down a lap and looked to have too much damage to deal with. But we are done with stage racing. It's about racing it to the end. Who's going to win the Next Level Racing 200 here at Martinsville? Let's find out as we're back to Green Flag Racing.
Austin Call with another good restart. This is where we can see some incidents on these restarts. Everybody trying to get every position that they can while everybody's bunched up. But Kyle Carpenter with a really good drive out of turn number 2. He's going to clear the 26 of Travis Dart. Travis thought about sending it in there. but he keeps off the back of the 77 machine. Andrew Medlin up the racetrack just a little bit, but he's going to fall in line. It's going to be Christopher Norris and that of Ken Campbell still battling side by side. Norris now going to try to go to the outside of the 12 of Andrew Medlin through 1 and 2 as these drivers try to sort these positions out.
And he's going to be trying to find that opening and will do so, getting in front of the 15, but the 15 does not want to give up any position possible. Ken Campbell battling right back to the inside, and that of Cameron Sarn. Sarn in a must-win scenario for the 24, still fighting inclined for every position, but for the 24 to make these moves work on the outside, he needs Christopher Norris to start moving forward.
Yeah, he needs Norris to move forward, otherwise he's going to lose a couple of positions here. Ross Tatum's lined up there, Zach Hall, Chris Stitz, the 9 of Brian Cole, all lined up beside him, but they're still side by side for the last 3 laps here between Norris, Campbell, Sarton, and Tatum as they try to sort this out. Norris finally going to lose that spot to the 15 of Ken Campbell. Sarton has a chance to get behind the 21 of Ross Tatum, but chooses not to do so, and that's going to allow Zach Hall now to his inside as he potentially loses this spot to the 32. A little bit of a bump and a bump from the 17 of Chris Stitz.
Just taps, slight contact between the 32 and the 24, and luckily for Cameron Sarn did not hit that outside wall. That could have been catastrophic, getting any type of side damage because of how fragile these trucks are. You don't want any damage possible, as diving it down low once again is going to be the 32 of Zach Hall, making the pass on Christopher Norris. Norris now under fire as Cameron Sarn's trying to get by. 68 gonna have his fun being up front, but he's about to get bounced all the way outside the top 10 if he's not careful.
Yeah, it could very well be, but he's a good corner entry here in a 3 and 4. Doesn't get it though. That's going to allow the 24 back to his inside, but I think Cameron might be overdriving the corner just a little bit, not getting the exit that 24 really needs here, but again, still in a good position to the inside of the 68 of Christopher Norris through 1 and 2. Almost a little bit of contact, checks up the 24, and that's going to allow Stitz to go around on the outside. So Sarton ends up losing a position in that battle instead of the 68 of Christopher Norris.
It's not over just yet, but it just looks like Cameron Sarton does not look comfortable on the inside. Here's some driver that does look comfortable. It's Ross Tatum putting the pressure on Ken Campbell.
Yeah, Ross is working his way, trying to get up past that 15 machine as he dives it down into turn number 3. And this is kind of where that train was behind the 12 and the 15 of Ken Campbell. So Ross not wanting to be caught in that train again. He's going to try to dispatch one of the freaky fast racing drivers in the 15 of Ken Campbell as they still battle side by side through 1 and 2. And might have him cleared here out of turn number 2. Not quite yet. See if you can clear him down here into 3 and 4.
It looks to be a little bit more aggressive on entry. That's going to be the clearance the 21's looking for. But watch out for the front stretch, because it could have been a switchback and take it away. Instead, the 15's just not there. The momentum was not grabbed, and as we have been green for 11 laps, those moves you were able to do a couple laps ago, oh no, never mind, take it back, caution flag is out. It's the 42 of Nick Collin that's going to reset everything here.
Yeah, Nick, a little bit of issues in 1 and 2, not sure what happened to that 42 machine, but a lot of damage to the side in front of that truck, so we'll have to see what happened to him. But you know, we just started to get single filed out, Sam. Now we got to stack it up and do it all over again.
I mean, that just is going to give opportunities, I think, for the drivers that weren't overcooking the tires and getting too aggressive. They might have a chance to rebound and grab those positions back. Some of the drivers, though, were being very aggressive on taking some of those positions. And the tire wear was showing, at least not the heat-wise, was showing on the fact that drivers were not able to get up to speed the way that they wanted. But strategy already being thrown out. Some drivers coming into pit road as we get this instant replay and see what brought out our second caution of the day. And you see the 42 already dealing with some right side damage. And Trevor just looks like he came in just a little bit too hot.
Yeah, it looks like he came into 1 and might have had an issue out of 4, maybe, and then was trying to catch it all the way down the front stretch and got into 1 and 2 and just never had control of that truck. And a nice little spin here through 1 and 2. Ooh, and heavy contact as he hopped the curb there to the inside wall and in the middle of 1 and 2 there, but gets it backed up, gets going again. But yeah, not quite sure what caused him to have issues. There's just a weird spot to start to have an issue for himself. And yeah, it looks like he just got loose there out of 4 and was trying to maybe catch it the whole way down.
And just jabbed the brakes a little bit too hard and looped it around while he was trying to save it. And hard contact, but at least we'll still be running. Is that of the 42 Nick Crawford as he gets rolling for himself. But again, back to strategy calls. Some drivers decided to come into pit road under this yellow. And Trevor, gotta say, some of the drivers that came in, I'm not surprised. They needed to switch things up. And Cameron Sarton, one of those drivers, but he stayed in pit road for extra time. That contact between himself and Zach Hall might have spooked the 24. He is all the way back in 19th position.
Yeah, I think he got some of the damage fixed from the contact with Zach Hall and the 17 of Chris Stitz, who also got into the back of him there. But hey, why not try something different? I mean, you've been stuck in traffic, and yeah, we only went that of about 11 laps before that caution to come in, get some fresh tires, and see what you can do to work your way back through the field. I mean, fresh tires, no matter the difference, are gonna be better than what's in front of him. But I mean, that's a lot of track position to give up, Sam, that he's got to work his way back through.
It is a ton that he's going to have to work with as the drivers stacking up and getting ready for those lights to click off for us to get the 1 to go marker. Currently, still Austin Kyle Carpenter in second. How will the 77 decide to attack on this restart, as well as that of Ross Tatum? We saw Ross Tatum be very aggressive there right before the yellow flag came out. He was trying to set up on making a pass on that of Andrew Medlin, and with the 21 being on the inside, he just needs a really good launch here, and Ross Tatum could be finding himself moving up to 4th place.
Yeah, good launch here. He could find himself up to 4th, maybe even 3rd, depending on how this plays out for Kyle Carpenter or Andrew Medlin on that top line. We'll have to see what kind of restart they can get. Kyle's done a really good job, though, hanging with the 18 of Austin Call on these restarts. But with a little bit of running here done on these tires, these drivers are going to have to watch out for maybe a little bit of wheel spin on this restart as they try to get the power down.
Well, pace car is off. It's in Austin Calls' hands into the restart zone, and we are green once again for the Next Level Racing 200. 18 has the advantage into the corner, but oh boy, were they getting tricky in the entry of the corner there. Ken Campbell holds on, but he almost threw it all away.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit of a bump from the 68 of Christopher Norris, who didn't quite expect everybody to check up that much, but a great save by the 15 of Ken Campbell. And those two, have been teammates in the past, as Norris has filled in for Andrew Medlin a couple times this season. So surprised to see that little bit of contact from Christopher Norris as he gets contact from Will Bustler, and he's trying to save it out of exit of turn number 2.
Trying to hold on, and it's going to stack up the majority of the field that's back here that just got fresh rubber. Joshua Altus in the 94 going to be the driver with the freshest of rubber. He's trying to move his way forward, and Christopher Norris had a great stage, but since then he has been bullied his way backwards, and now going to be back to 12th position. But there's a wall of drivers again setting up fresh rubber. Philip Chavez on the old tires like Christopher Norris, but Charles Hugel going to give a tap to the 101, trying to show that he's got fresh rubber and he wants to get moving. But here comes Cameron Sarton back from 19th up to 15th place and could be grabbing more.
Yeah, just trying to get everything he can here while everybody's stacked up. The 30 of Hugel goes high. It's going to allow the 24 to get to his inside. See if he can clear him down here into 3 and 4. Then he's got to get around the 101 of Philip Chavez, catch up to that of Christopher Norris. But right here gets clear of the 30 of Hugel. Tried to bring the 42 of Nick Holland with him, but Holland not able to get to the inside. But Hugel's going to drive it in deep into 1 and 2. He's going to miss the corner completely, go way up the track, and he's going to lose a bunch of spots with that mistake that he just made.
Slightly overzealous, and that's going to hurt the tires even more. But drivers further up ahead, losing a lot of ground. It's the 77 of Kyle Carpenter. He restarted in second, and he has just been going backwards ever since. Never was able to find an opening to fall back down to the inside lane. The 77 from second back to 7th. He needs to be going in the forward direction. Instead, he's stuck on the outside.
Yeah, stuck on the outside, and I don't think it's going to get any better for himself as he gets a little bit of the outside wall down the front straightaway. Chris Stitz to his inside, the 9 of Brian Cole trying to close in and get that pass done. He's not going to quite be able to get to the inside. He is going to get to the inside. He's going to send it down here into 3 and 4, and Carpenter again drifts up really high out of turn number 4, almost gets the wall again, and here comes Will Bustler in the 94 of Joshua Altus.
Just continue to fight going forward. Joshua Altus looking at his times again on the freshest of rubber of anyone else out here, putting the fastest laps in is the 94, showing that fresh rubber. It might be only that of 16 lap difference, but it's a massive difference at this current moment. But the 94 has to settle, wait, be patient, and he has the better call instead of trying to force it 3 wide, where I think he was tempted for a quick second there.
Yeah, tempted to do so, but 3 wide here at Martinsville, not the smartest of ideas, as it typically doesn't work out for you. But right now, the 1 of Will Bustler really kind of stuck up here with the side-by-side battling with the 77 of Kyle Carpenter, and Altus just trying to find a way to go to get by. It almost gets into the back of Will there, as Will trying to still clear that 77 machine, but again, they're side by side out of turn number 2.
And looking at these drivers, Joshua Altus, he's got to be careful because another driver is on the move, and that is going to be the 24 machine of Cameron Sarton. Right behind this pack, his driver scraping the wall. That's 77. Kyle Carpenter can see the damage. Just continues to pile on that right side of the 77 machine. And it's just giving openings for drivers to just breeze on by. Altus almost fully clear. Christopher Norris setting up. And here comes the 24 Mickey Mouse machine. Can Cameron Sarton find himself into victory lane and bounce out Chris Stitz from moving on in the playoffs? That 17 machine is the cutoff driver, and he's up to 7th place. Not a bad place to be to close in, but the drivers in front of him are drivers that he needs to be losing points to make sure he's not the bubble driver.
Yeah, and just slowly, running a nice, consistent race for Stitz. But Sarton back here, I mean, he's 4 seconds back from Austin Call. He's on the fresher tires, has to get around that of Christopher Norris. But, I mean, he's got to follow Joshua Altus. I think what he's hoping for is maybe a caution that's going to bring our leaders down pit road and he stays out on this tire strategy to give him track position. But if this runs green for, another 20, 30 laps, I think everybody's going to be forced to come down pit road if we get a caution at that time. And his strategy kind of goes out the window.
Many different gutsy calls on strategies. Sometimes you got to gamble to find yourself heading for a championship. See the 24 trying to make a pass here on Christopher Norris as the pass is made. Drivers in line. This is going to be one of our few times to take commercial break as we're hitting the halfway marker here shortly. You've been watching the Full Set Racing Series. It's the Season 4 playoffs, the last race of the round of 8. The season will run for a championship in 2 weeks. All here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be right back here in just a little bit. You won't miss a thing as we go side by side.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Masker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
has that still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh my
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is, like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you're just joining us, well, welcome to the show. It's the final race of the round of 8. It's the cutoff race to figure out who will run for a championship in 2 weeks. The reason why it's in 2 weeks, we got next week off as it's Memorial Weekend, so we are taking next week off, but we will be back June 6th for the final race at Phoenix to see who will run for a championship. We already know one driver that's locked in. It's the driver in green on your ticker board, 32, Zach Hall. The other 3 spots are still wide open to be grabbed. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors, though, before we get back to the racing coverage. And our first one is the Lap Traffic Podcast. If you want to listen to a podcast, get you through the day, or while on a drive, go listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast. As well, big shout out to ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Instead of just listening to sounds, why not feel the sounds? Get more immersed in what you're watching. Get yourself a ButtKicker today. And with your ButtKicker, you need to attach it to something. Why not go get yourself a next level racing gear? It's the best way to get your sim racing to the next level with Next Level Racing. Well, big thanks to those sponsors. And for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, Trevor, I know you're excited for it. June 10th is when our day is. Cannot wait for this June 10th day to show up even faster. Reason why? It's our charity race, our second one of the year and our last one of 2023. It's the Gamer Outreach 600. We take the Gen 4 Cup cars to Charlotte for 600 miles, 400 laps of slipping and sliding, and we get to see what that of Trevor's style is going to be on track, because we just saw Travis Dart. He passed on track.
Yeah, Travis just got passed by Ross Tatum, Zach Hall, and yeah, Sam, I'm looking forward to it. We went 500 miles at Daytona. at the beginning of the year. Now we're going to go 600 miles at Charlotte in a very difficult race car to drive. So looking forward to that one. Hopefully I can do us broadcasters and commentators proud and have a good performance out there. But it's going to be a lot of fun and for such a great cause with the Gamers Outreach jumping on board. So definitely looking forward to that. And it's right around the corner.
It certainly is, just a matter of a few weeks away. And if you haven't already signed up, if you want to be a driver, very easy, simple. All you have to do is head to our community Discord channel, go look for the events tab, the charity events tab, where you can press the link that can give you more information. But it's just a simple $5 donation to the Gamers Outreach, and then you are signed up and ready to get racing. If you'd like just to donate as well, there's that of the Tiltify link if you'd like just to donate and help with the cause. And if you don't have the money to donate, simple and easy, just share the link. It'd be so helpful for us out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're trying to donate as much as we can for the Gamers Outreach. Back in the beginning of the year for our Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, we donated over that of $1,200. Can we break that record? Let's find out for the Gamers Outreach 600. As again, if you're just joining us, we've had ourselves only 2 cautions that have changed a lot. We had our first caution that was a stage break. We got the numbers on where drivers need to be if they want to point their way into the final 4. As well, we had a caution that reset where drivers need to be running for tires wise. It certainly is set up to a great run. Austin Cole has led every single lap here tonight for the 18. He's trying to continue to hold back some of the top contenders in the league. Ross Tatum, Zach Hall, and Trevor, gotta say, this is incredible to watch. The fact that the 18 is still leading at this time.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Tatum, Zach Hall caught up past that of Travis Dart, who kind of looked like he was struggling behind the 18 of Austin Cole. Maybe felt he was a little bit faster, started overdriving, trying to get to the inside of Austin, and then lost those 2 positions. But since then, I mean, Austin Cole running that of similar lap times to that of Ross Tatum and Zach Hall, and actually this time by a little bit faster than the 21 and the 32, is that 18 looks really comfortable out front.
Austin Cole trying to go for his first ever win here in the Full Send Racing Series, and it's been a great run overall for him this evening. And we've usually seen the fact that the 18 will qualify well, but then fall back and be lost in the crowd later on in the race. Well, he's about to be hitting one of the most difficult portions of short track racing, and that's the true factor of lap traffic. When he catches up to lap traffic, that's going to be the factor I'm most concerned about for the 18, because I don't know how the field's going to react around him. Luckily, he doesn't have thick traffic to worry about for at least another 30 laps. But by that time, drivers might be thinking about pit stops. Never mind. Yellow flag is thrown, and it's going to be the 3 of Ryan Lynch bringing out the caution.
I just saw it happen. I think Ryan just lost it in 3 and 4, had to take a tow, and it's going to bring out our 3rd caution of the night. And going to be interesting to see here what's going to happen. I feel like we saw those guys like Cameron Sarton, Joshua Altus come down pit road, take tires, but I think this is going to bring everybody back down pit road again here, Sam, for what could potentially be their final pit stop of the race.
To see the difference on some of the pacing that was going on, because that of Cameron Sarton was on some of the freshest tires compared to what our leaders were running. For that of Cameron Sarton, his last lap that he put down was a 20.4, as you see on screen. This is what brought out the yellow. The 3 machine of Ryan Lynch just going in the corner pretty aggressively, but then in the center of the corner just loses it with overcorrection.
Yeah, I think he just drove in a little bit too deep there, got on the brakes really hard to try to get it slowed down to make the corner, and then just lost the rear end and overcorrected here, and then hard contact into the outside wall for that 3 machine of Ryan Lynch. Bounces off and blown motor right there. Sam had to take the tow, and that's what's going to bring out our 3rd caution of the night.
Left the racing surface as soon as possible, was hoping not to bring out the yellow, but there was oncoming traffic that forced the caution flag to be thrown, as that will be our 3rd driver in the garage area. Bill Dart still dealing with required damage of a blown engine. The 8 of Jonathan K. Spear has called it a night, and now the 3 of Ryan Lynch going to be out of this race, calling it an evening. It's going to leave us with just that of 19 drivers out there on track, and this now officially puts the drivers of Will Bustler, Cameron Sarton in a must-win scenario based on how the points were looking after the stage break. And this now makes things very interesting moving forward. I mean, Trevor, still John Dart has the possibility of pointing his way in, but he needs to make sure he's 10 positions ahead of Chris Stitz. But it's not looking like that could be happening unless Chris Stitz really falls off here when we go back to Green Flag Racing.
Yeah, and John, I think a little bit of tire strategy maybe for himself under that pit stop as he comes out ahead of Chris Stitz by a couple or by a position, I believe. Actually, he continues to fall down my order. It looks like he's back in pit road for that 99 machine. Or I think my standings is just having a meltdown for a second. But John and Chris close to one another, and he does need Chris to have issues here if he wants to make it, into the next round or get the win. But Chris has been doing what he needs to do, just having a nice quiet race, just inside the top 10, playing it safe.
Yeah, and just clarifying on what's going on with John Dark, he decided to stay out, but because the rest of the field had already finished their pit stop before the 99 was able to pass everyone, the 99 forced to go to the end of the line, so he will be starting at the tail end. So he's on old tires, back off the field. This is a rough night for the 99 of John Dark, who's going to have to hope that we stay green for maybe 10 to 20 laps. Then a caution flag comes out so we can come into pit road and get fresh rubber and have a slight advantage. As the pace car heads into pit road, let's see how this restart's going to go. The last one was chaotic with fresh rubber. Everyone's on the same set. Let's get ourselves back to Green Flag Racing for the Next Level Racing 200 as Austin Call, Travis Dart roar down in turn number 1, and it's going to be Ross Tatum. A big slip up by the 21 and giving the advantage to the 32 with Zach Hall as Travis Dart just parks it in the center of the corner.
Yeah, Ross Tatum there with that little bit of wheel spin going up through the gears, trying to accelerate to keep up with the 18 Austin Call. The 26 Travis Dart gives Call a little bit of a bump through 3 and 4, side by side with Zach Hall, Ross Tatum for that of third position. Travis Dart going to send it down into turn 1 and 2, and he's going to go up high, and this could potentially give the door to Zach and Ross, and it does get both of them by, and here comes the 12 of Andrew Medlin. Travis Dart just being really over-aggressive there at the start of the race. It's going to cost him at least 2 positions, 3, maybe even 4 to the 24 of Cameron Sarton.
And speaking of over-aggressive, you just saw it there in a slight picture to the right, that of Ken Campbell getting into the outside wall at the exit of the corner as he was dealing with some drivers getting very aggressive around one another. That's Joshua Altis bouncing Chris Stitz only back to 12th position. Christopher Norris giving a little bit of retaliation to the 94, bouncing him to the outside. And now Altis falling backwards as some of the competitors that need some big points are trying to move forward in their positions. 130 laps in of 200. And this race is not looking to be over just yet as, oh boy, more drivers further on back, collecting with one another, and the 17 involved.
It was I think Stitz got up into the 94 of Joshua Altis to show some displeasure, and Chris Stitz gets spun around on the back straightaway, and that's heavy damage to that 17 machine.
And what was needed for John Dart to potentially point his way into this race? The perfect timing, potentially, to see the 94 bounce up, and Nick Holland collides. Not require damage, but oh boy, our driver's a little hot over the radio right now.
Short track racing right there, and Chris just showing his frustration with how Joshua was racing him, and Joshua just showed it right back to him, and here we are. And this is the break that not only did John need points wise, because that's a lot of damage that Chris Stitz is going to have to contend with for the rest of the evening, but also to get him back on the same tire strategy as everybody else with a little bit fresher tires, as he's going to have about a 10 lap advantage on fresh tires compared to everybody else around him.
And some drivers certainly gonna have some of their thoughts on how this race has gone. I know Joshua Altis, drivers have had their displeasures with the 94 throughout this season, and sometimes things just bubble up at the end of regular seasons. The 17, I know, was not happy in the way that he was bumped around on the restart. Oh man, and to think that the 17 now has to deal with that crazy damage, it's going to be wild.
Yeah, and it's not what Chris needed to have happen. I mean, he was doing everything right that he needed to do tonight. Was just inside the top 10, staying out of trouble, and right now just kind of let the tempers get to him, and it could cost him a chance at running for a championship. And it'd be a shame too, because he's had speed all season long, and just one little letting something get underneath your skin like that could cost him a chance at getting a championship.
I mean, it's not even just this season having a chance for the championship. It just feels like every season there is a chance that Chris Stitz could be his final season to get that championship. He's lost out in the past 2 seasons on great opportunities, but this is where you got to hunker down, really be competitive. And for Chris Stitz, it now changes from just trying to stay and battle potentially for a win to just aim for a top 10 finish. If that's possible, it can stop out John Dart and hope that it can stop the 99 from pointing his way in. And then you also got to cross your fingers and hope that none of the drivers that are outside looking in wins this race, because you're not going to gain enough points to make sure that you're outside of that bubble of the 4th place position. You're stuck there. Now it's just cross your fingers and hope that you have enough points over the rest of the competition behind you.
Yeah, I think for Stitz right now, John cannot finish, I believe it's 11 positions ahead of him to point his way in, or that, Will Bustler, Kyle Carpenter, or Cameron Sarton win this race. Otherwise, it's going to knock Chris Stitz out. But it's going to be a long recovery run for the 17 machine. He's got to keep that 99 machine of John Dart inside as we get ready to get this race restarted.
And now the stress level raises, and it's time for the drivers to ramp up their engines. Here we go into the restart zone. We're back to green flag action. Austin Cole, Ross Tatum heading down into turn number 1. Zach Hall, winner of this race last season, the 32, right back to the throttle as he's trying to get by Ross Tatum for second.
And trying to get by Ross Tatum. Austin Cole doing what he needs to do to control that restart. Did a really good job there. Clears the 21 of Tatum. Now Zach Hall going to clear the 21 of Ross Tatum. It's going to be Medlin and Travis Dart that are going to be side by side for the battle for 4th. Cameron Sarton side by side with Christopher Norris in the battle for 6th and 7th position. Looks like Sarton's going to get that clear. Travis Dart trying to clear the 12 of Andrew Medlin. They're still going to be side by side heading into turn number 3.
Still side by side trying to make their way forward as Austin Cole has to defend the 32 of Zach Hall, who's been the hottest driver in the playoffs. Can he do so as Andrew Medlin trying to find an opening to hold back Cameron Sarton. Sarton in the green machine, needing to find himself into victory lane to fight for a championship. Gives the bump to Andrew Medlin. That back into the throttle, side-by-side drag racing into turn number 1. And it's going to have to be passes like this that Cameron Sarton's going to have to make if he's going to be winning this race. Almost door banging off the exit. The 24 has a nose, but yet to be fully clear just yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into crunch time here, and for Cameron Sarton, he's got to be aggressive to get these passes done, even if it means putting a bumper on somebody, but a little bit loose out of turn number 4, and he's going to lose all that little advantage that he had over Cameron Sarton, or over Andrew Medlin. But Norris gets into Medlin, spins him out, contact with Campbell and Carpenter, and we stack it up and do it all over again.
Christopher Norris, who had filled in for Andrew Medlin. He's filled in for that of Ken Campbell, and he ran into both of them under that incident. And now it's going to push the 12 all the way back to the end of the line. And short track racing is showing its fangs now, Trevor. It certainly is a track that's known for giving us 8+ cautions per race. Well, it's starting to climb now for all these yellows.
It's starting to feel like a real Martinsville race. There for a minute, I was kind of questioning where we were at with how clean this race had been, but the beating and banging started. These trucks look a little bit worse for wear than how they were about that of 30 laps ago. And now, hey, we're gonna stack them back up, try it again. Looks like Medlin's coming down pit road, Joshua Altus back down pit road, Nick Holland. Those 3 are gonna come down pit road for some damage repair, maybe 4 fresh tires. In a differing of strategy for the 12 of Medlin. I know Nick Holland and Joshua Alt is still dealing with some damage from their incidents. They're getting fixed, but I'm curious, Sam, to see how Austin Call is going to do with Zach Hall and Ross Tatum. I mean, he did a good job defending them there on that long run, but here he's going to have Zach Hall on his outside on the restart with Ross Tatum there. I mean, will the pressure get to him, or is he going to be able to hold him off? I mean, he's looked just so dominant all night tonight.
I think another driver I'm curious about what their mindset is, and that's going to be the 2-time champ of Cameron Sarton. And I think we're going to see if we can pull him up into the booth. Out of the 24 machine in 5th place. How is he feeling? Cameron, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. You got us?
I got y'all. What's up?
Well, you're back in 5th. We're crunching the numbers. It looks like you're in a must-win scenario. You're in 5th place. How are you feeling with 50 laps to go here tonight?
It'd be a lot better if I didn't have some left front damage from earlier. It's super tight, hard to pass on the bottom, and no matter how much you gas it up a 4 or 2, it's just super hard to get on the inside and stay there with someone. So we'll see what we can do. It's kind of all or nothing here. The last, 48 laps. So hopefully I can kind of just maintain, have a shot at it, and do what I gotta do to kind of win here. So obviously people know that, and cross your fingers.
Cameron, with that being said, I mean, it sounds like there's no fear in using the bumper. The question with that being is there a right time to use the bumper, or do you just use it when you feel like you need to?
There's kind of a right time to use it. You can't use it when you get to them first try. That's pretty low on the driver part, but after a few instances of trying to pass someone and nothing's coming, especially with 45 to go and aka life on the line, I think it's all holds bars, and I think anyone else would race the same way. So we'll see what happens. It should be fun. Enjoy it.
It certainly should be. Well, Cameron, we'll send you back to your team, but good luck, and hopefully we'll be talking at the end of the night.
Hopefully so. Thanks, guys.
It's going to be Ghost Racing driver of Cameron Sartin, starting in 5th place. Must-win scenario for the 24. Must-win scenario for the 77 of Kyle Carpenter, as well as the 1 of Will Bustler. As pace cars in pit row, drivers exiting 4. Less than 50 laps to go. Who's running for a championship? Let's find out as we're back to green flag action.
Back to green flag, and here we go. Austin Call going to try to defend the 32 of Zach Hall. Zach ships it in there in turn 1 and 2. Not quite able to hold it down on the outside, but gets a really good launch off. Falls in line. Cameron Sartin going to clear the 9 of Brian Cole. Try to get to the inside of the 26 of Travis Dark here. Just not quite, and we're back under caution.
Back under caution, and it's going to be the 101 of Philip Chavez, bringing out that yellow. And Cameron Sartin, I believe he was ahead of the 26. Oh, he was not able to fully commit to that pass, but it was certainly close. But here's what brought out the caution. Drivers were really starting to stack up front, and that means that accordion's all the way back to these drivers. Back here, you can just see everyone stacking on top of one another, and the 101 just comes up into Medlin. Joshua Altus gets into the 101. That 94 has just been a magnet for these last 50 laps as he gets into another vehicle, and Nick Holland, just innocent victim, nowhere to go for the 42.
Yeah, and that's just, that's the accordion effect from up front all the way to the back, and really nobody's fault. It's just kind of one of those things that happens when everybody accordions up on one another. It's just that little bit of a bump sends the 101 sideways, and doesn't look like a whole lot of damage for everybody. Thankfully, we're short track racing, so the aero, I mean, we heard Cameron say it tightens it up just a little bit, but not as devastating as it would be if we were at like a Charlotte or another 1.5 mile racetrack.
I think also the fact that, like you said, dealing with that damage, interesting to hear on that factor that damage that he collected earlier with the slight contact with Zach Hall has been that detrimental for the 24 in this run.
Yeah, typically, I mean, you think of short track racing. I mean, we've seen in real life and even in sim, I mean, we've seen modified looking race cars with no front ends be competitive. And so it's really odd to hear Cameron say that he feels like it's tightened that truck up. I've looked at it a couple of times. I really don't see any damage on the right front or the left front of that truck. So I'm not sure if it's on my end, if he does have damage, or if maybe he just feels that way and maybe he's just overdriving the truck. But it's interesting to hear them say that, especially here at a short track.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, but I do know that visually it can be different from what viewers see compared to what the drivers are feeling. And, at some points you gotta throw it out. Maybe it's a placebo effect of feeling like, hey, this is what's going on with my vehicle. I would imagine Cameron Sartin, with the amount of experience he has in iRacing, he is feeling that issue, and he's got to overwork this vehicle if he wants to get into victory lane. Luckily, one driver just gets out of his way. That's going to be Travis Dart, sending himself back to the end of the line, deciding to grab some tires. We have a couple of drivers taking tires here. Travis Dart, Brian Cole, as well as Will Bustler, Philip Chavez, Sam Siegel getting some fresh rubber for themselves. Other drivers that are on different tire different tire distance than our top 7. John Dart back in 8th, and Chris Stitz, he might be having a lot of damage. 17 looks still decently quick in 10th position.
Yeah, even with all that damage, back up to 10th. And doing exactly what it needs to do, keeping that 99 of John Dart in sight, in tow, with only being one spot behind him. So exactly what Stitz needs to do, just needs to hope that maybe with all that front end damage, we've seen it happen where the engines blow up. So got to make sure he keeps that truck cool and keeps that engine together for the next 40 laps or so.
That if Chris Stitz to make it into the final four, he needs to make sure that Cameron Sarton, Will Bustler, Kyle Carpenter, and John Dart do not win. And if they don't finish and win the race, he's got to make sure John Dart is not 12 positions ahead of him. As we are back to green flag action, Austin calls Zach Hall. Zach trying to find an opening, will find it. He'll slot right behind the 18, and here comes the run off the exit of the corner 32. Not trying to make any contact just yet, but behind them, Cameron Sarton and Zach Hall bouncing with one another, but that's 24 and the 68 very close to making contact.
And Cameron's trying to hold off the 68 of Christopher Norris. Norris just sends it into turn 1 and 2, but Sarton needs to defend this position, otherwise he's in danger of getting freight trained here by the 15 of Ken Campbell. Campbell's going to look to the inside now as the 68 of Christopher Norris has gotten by him, and now Sarton has to defend from Ken Campbell. Gets up into the wall just a little bit though, but he's going to find that opening as John Dart and the 77 of Kyle Carpenter were battling behind him. So that's the opening that 24 needed, but track position lost for him.
Track position now falls to 6th position, and he's got some very aggressive drivers behind, willing to grab every single position if possible, and drivers side by side with one another who've already made contact. Joshua Altus, Chris Stitz, side by side back in 11th position. And Altus is just going to let that, he's going to make the pass or almost make some contact with 17. But Stitz is going backwards as the 99 of John Dart is moving forward. That's not what the 17 wants to see, as well as having some connection issues. 17 is having plenty of woes here with just less than 35 laps to go.
Yeah, just the day, and he gets tapped by Bustler and spun around.
And more drivers piling in. Will Bustler just won't get off, and that's going to be a caution. 17 parked up top. He's going to be able to move, no required damage, but the damage just continues to pile up.
And Zach Hall got to the lead. We had a lead change for the first time all night long, and Chris Stitz gets spun around yet again, and more damage for himself. And now, down there in 17th, I mean, John Dart just needs that of 2 positions.
Two more spots. And Cameron Sarton's heading into pit road. John Dart's now heading into pit road. John Dart risking the fact that he has what's set to work with in pit road and deciding now is the last opportunity to take tires. As we look at what brought out this yellow, watch for the 17 and that of the blue, black and white. And there's one of Will Bustler trying to dive it down low. But man, Trevor, certainly the aggression level, the wick has been turned, and it is carnage for this race right now.
No, it's turned into a good old beating and banging short track race here tonight. And right there, just Chris, I think, just thought he might have been cleared and tried to come down in front of Will Bustler, and Bustler just stuck his nose in there. I mean, Bustler's got to be aggressive here. He's got to win this race to try to advance, and
he just keeps on hitting him.
It might have been showing his displeasure a little bit to the 17. Made it felt like he chopped his nose there, and I mean, just what a turn of events for the 17 of Chris Stitz here tonight.
And Chris Stitz has officially gone a lap down. He is trapped in 18th position, and that means for John Dart, who's on the lead lap, just got fresh rubber. The 99 needs to move up to that of 7th position. If he can finish there, and we don't see Cameron Sarton winning this race or Kyle Carpenter, the 99 could be bouncing himself into the final 4, and the Cinderella story can continue on.
It's crazy to think of. I mean, you think back to the stage break, even all the way back to, I think, lap 120. I mean, it just looked like Chris Stitz was in that perfect position to make his way into the championship 4, and then just a little bit of frustrations boiling over between him and the 94 of Joshua Altus, and now we're looking at a position where John Dart just has to get back up into the top 10, top 8, and he gets to go run for a championship in 2 weeks at Phoenix.
The only thing, though, is John Dart went from being in that good position of around 8th and 9th position to now back in 16th. He's in the Hornet's Nest where a lot of this carnage has been billowing up. Drivers have not been reacting well to the chain reaction checkups that have been happening on the entry of these corners. Can the 99 survive and move his way patiently? But he's got to be aggressive because it's going to be 30 laps to go when we get back to green flag action. And for everyone else that's decided to stay out and not come to pit road to take this set of tires at this moment, you're stuck with what you got. So you have to hope that these tires are good enough to hold off the drivers that just got some freshies, as everyone is stacked up, ready to go, waiting for the pace car to pull into pit road. And now the hand is into Zach Hall, winner of this race last season in the Xfinity car, trying to win here. He gets by Austin Call, who's led the most laps, and now the 32, ready to get rolling. The Next Level Racing 200 is back underway.
And Austin Call with some wheel spin. He's going to get a bump from the 68 of Christopher Norris. It's going to be interesting. And another bump from Norris. It's going to be interesting to see how Austin's going to be able to recover from this, but he's going to get passed by the 21 of Ross Tatum and might lose this by the 15 of Ken Campbell, but he's going to try to fight back on the outside. I just don't think that's a good idea, but he pinches Ken Campbell. He's going to be able to hold on to that third position for now. And it's going to be Norris Carpenter that are side by side. Is Norris pinching the 77 machine? Is Norris not afraid to be aggressive here in these last couple of restarts, trying to move his way up through the field in that 68?
Christopher Norris, fill-in driver for the 68 machine. As the driver's been bouncing around, no contact, and away it goes in front of the field. Driver's trying to whoa up. We continue to keep the driver straight. They were not slow enough to bring out a yellow. We continue to stay green, and that's almost exactly what John Dart was needing, some more space to drive around drivers. But that contact spaces everyone out. It's less than 30 laps to go, and John Dart back in 14th position. He needs to pass over 7 drivers. Then he'll be in the position to steal and go fight for a championship.
Yeah, and with that gap, though, that was created with that spin, I mean, that's a little bit more work that he's got to do to get up there to those drivers. But getting around Chris Stitz, who's in the wall, but he's dealing with being a lap down, so doesn't have to worry about that. But he's got to get it by Christopher Norris, the Philip Chavez, Brian Cole, Cameron Sarton, Will Bustler. I mean, he's got to get all the way up to Kyle Carpenter, I believe, in 6th to advance himself into the next round.
But there's another driver that's in the hunt. Cameron Sarton up to 10th place, and the 24, freshest of tires out of anyone. He's the furthest ahead, as the 24 is in a must-win scenario. He could take the gloves off, 25 laps to go, and the 24 needs to get rolling. He needs to catch up to Zach Hall, who's over 4 seconds ahead of the 24 machine.
Yeah, I think he's going to need to click off a couple more positions here and then hope for a caution to come out to bring the field back together to have a shot at this. I mean, Zach, now that he's in the lead, is really just pulled away from Ross Tatum and Austin Call and looks really good out front. I mean, he's 0.3 of a second quicker than Ross Tatum and 10th quicker than that of Austin Call. I mean, Zach is putting down fast laps here, but Cameron Sarton, again, working through the field, got around Joshua Altus, and now going after Jonathan Woods in the 2.
Jonathan Woods in the 2 is now turning into the driver that 99 needs to catch up to. That is a 3-second gap, now a 2-second gap between the 99 to 7th position of Cameron Sarton. So the 99 is trying to get on his horse and get going. But as the laps continue to tick away, could it be the 4 drivers that entered this final 4? It could have been the final 4 by entering this race, or could we finding ourselves into more carnage as drivers further on back getting into one another, and will have a yellow as lap trucks caught up in a mess, and this is going to reset everything.
Travis Dart, Philip Chavez involved, and I think that gives Chris Stitz the lucky dog.
I'm trying to see if he was involved in the wreck or not. He almost, I think he got clipped.
Oh no.
I think Sam Siegel might have been involved with it as well, and I don't think anyone's getting a lucky dog here.
And that'll keep him pinned a lap down, and I mean, that's not what he needs. I mean, if he got the lucky dog, he could pass a couple of trucks and mitigate the gap to John Dart, and then now Joshua Altus, Will Bustler, Charles Hugel all coming down pit road. I mean, that's more spots for John Dart. He's up to 10th. Sam, I mean, he just needs 2 more spots.
He needs to get up to 7th to officially take the position. He would have to be up to 8th to tie based off the numbers that we have based off the stage break. Now We're still missing potentially other bonus points that could be grabbed of leading a lap. We were not given those bonus points, but just based off the stage, John Dart, it was 10 points off of Chris Stitz. That is 10 positions that the drivers are. And with Chris Stitz, oh man, this is getting very close, and I think he did get the lucky dog.
I think so too. I think I just saw him go flying by the pace car. And so now that's going to make it even harder for John. But I mean, he's got all that damage. And Will Bustler, Hugel, and Altus, and Travis have all come down pit road or I think Travis and Phillip, I think, are stuck behind the pace car. But I mean, Altus, Hugel, and Bustler are all down pit road on fresh tires. It's going to be close, but I mean, John's in a fighting chance to make it in on points, just based off the chaos that's unfolded for Chris. And who knows, there might be even more chaos as we're getting ready for another restart, and we're less than 20 laps to go. And I mean, this is just going to get more and more intense as these laps wind down.
You never know what you're going to find when you come to these races. Back in season 1, when Andrew Medlin found himself winning here at Martinsville, they did have to go to overtime. They had to go for 1 overtime attempt. That's the only race that's gone to overtime here at Martinsville. Could we have to go once again? Less than 20 laps to go. We only know one thing for sure. Zach Hall is good. Ross Tatum, technically, based off of points, is good to move on, as well as Ken Campbell. Chris Stitz is the one driver currently that is in a giant question mark situation, because if Cameron Sarton can, that of Kyle Carpenter, win this race, they will steal that 4th spot in the final 4. But if John Dart can somehow be 11 positions ahead of Chris Stitz, there is a chance that the 99 could be still in that final position. But I think the one thing that we know is Zach Hall going to move on. But as well, Zach Hall could be the driver to win this race based on how fast he's been looking right now.
Yeah, I mean, now that he's in that lead, the 32 is going to be hard to beat. But the good news for the 18 of Austin Call, he's going to have that inside line, the preferred line on this restart. He's going to be behind the 32 of Zach Hall, so a chance to clear the 21. And I think Austin might still have something for Zach, but it's going to be tough. I mean, Zach's been just so dominant all season long, and now that he's in the lead, it's going to be tough to get past him. But I don't think this is going to be our final restart, same as the pace car is off and we're getting ready to go back green.
I don't expect it either. We're back to green flag action. A little bit of a stall to restart. Zach Hall really holding back the rest of the field. But wait until the very last moment to take off. 32 is gone. Ross Tatum trying to clear Austin Call for 2nd position. Will do so. And now the rest of the field. You fight, you scrap for every position. The 24 needs a win if he's going to race for a championship in 2 weeks at Phoenix. Now going to be seeing Ken Campbell to the outside. Andrew Medlin going to give an opening. The 24 to the inside, aiming for 4th position. Andrew Medlin trying to steal as many spots as possible to give himself a fighting chance just in case another yellow comes out. As the 24 continues to fight side by side, looking at other drivers, John Dart has not gained any positions. He's lost spots, and now it is all down to Cameron Sarton to win and steal a spot at this position.
Yeah, and just John Dart actually just got pushed up out of the groove, got passed by the 17 of Chris Stitz, so not what that 99 wanted to see happen, but Cameron Sarton passes the 12 of Andrew Medlin, now just has to catch up the 18 of Paul, the 21 of Ross Tatum, to get to Zach Hall. And looking at the times, he's running similar lap times. He's got a 35 lap advantage on tires that of Cameron Sarton does over our race leaders, but he's got to catch them and catch them quickly as these laps go by real quick here at Martinsville.
13 laps to go here at Martinsville. Cloud coverage giving some extra grip as we're riding on board the 17. Chris Stitz and the 94 ahead. They have been on top of one another. A lot of contact controversy between the two back at lap 138. But right now on 188, it is all Chris Stitz. All he needs to do is just stay put, and he will be all right to move on and race for a championship in Phoenix, as Zach Hall just trying to hold steady, pull away, and get another win for himself. The 32, the most dominant driver of the season, trying to go for win number 7.
Win number 7, and what would be 3 wins in a row for himself. One back at Indy, or at the Indy Road Course, 1 at Atlanta, and then would be his 3rd win in a row here at Martinsville if he can get it done. Cameron Sarton, though, closing in on the 18 of Austin Call. He's going to try to find a way around that. Try to find a way around for 3rd position, but Sammy's running out of laps. We're 10 to go here at the line, and Cameron's almost 2 seconds back at the 32 of Zach Hall.
Last lap was the 3rd fastest driver for the top 4. 4. Needs to get by Austin Call, holding back Cameron Sarton at this moment. But on top of that crazy stat of seeing Zach trying to get his 7th win, Ross Tatum would be miserable at this point. It would be his 7th second-place finish of the season. He's been so tired of finishing behind Zach Hall. You heard the frustration last week of us here in the 21. He does not want another second-place finish. It would be catastrophic coming at 8 to go.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, because I can't remember off the top of my head, has all 7 of his second places been behind that of Zach Hall?
They haven't all been behind him,
okay,
but majority of them have been. And
yeah,
that is why he's frustrated to see 32.
Oh, yeah. It could create some drama next week or in 2 weeks when we get to Phoenix. I mean, if he's that frustrated, you never know going for that second championship what the 21 might do. I mean, he's the quiet one every week, but we might see that frustration boil over at Phoenix and could see a good battle between the 32 and the 21. Looks like for Cameron Sarton, though, not the Cinderella story, but the run for the win kind of fading out here, coming to 6 to go, as he's still stuck behind the 18 of Austin Call, and they're now almost 3 seconds back from Zach Hall, 2.5, almost 2.5 for Austin Call, almost 3 for Cameron Sarton. So his chances of winning and getting in, I think, are going to come up about 3 positions short for that 24 machine.
He needs a caution and needs it badly, but these drivers deeper in the field staying in line. A lot of cluster bumping for drivers that are 7th on back. They are right on top of one another. We're going to see yellow. It could be coming from that group. But at this current moment, 5 to go. Zach Hall over a half-second lead over Ross Tatum. Austin Call, what a run, 3rd place for the 18. A group of drivers that have just been on top of one another, given a couple of taps in the entry or the center of the corner, but they continue to keep it straight. 4 laps to go, about to be 3 now for Zach Hall.
Yeah, almost coming, or 4 laps to go, coming to 3 to go, but this is going to be where it's at. You're spot on, Sam. It's going to be Ken Campbell, Kyle Carpenter, Christopher Norris, Will Bussler, and Joshua Altus. They're all nose to tail, and one little bump from these guys trying to pick up an extra position could see that caution come out. 3 to go here as they cross the line, and still nose to tail, a little bit of bumping, a little bit of banging, but they keep it straight out of turn number 2.
All lap cars staying low. That was Nick Holland, who's going to go a lap down, giving easy positions to our leaders. 2 laps to go for Zach Hall, the 32 machine. He worked his way forward, qualified 9th. Ross Tatum qualified 8th. They've been working slowly to move forward all night long, and after making the pass on Austin Cole, Zach has not looked back as he exits 4. It is all down to this 1 lap. The race is official. It's your freaky fast white flag, and Zach Hall solidifying himself as the most dangerous driver as Philip Chavez pulls it into pit road. The 32, the 21. This could be the 2 drivers to watch out for in 2 weeks at Phoenix, as Zach Hall grabs his 7th win of the season and have the full momentum for the championship race. Ross Tatum gets his 7th second-place finish, but it's Austin Cole. What a run for the 18.
What a run for Austin Cole. Comes home 3rd. I'm sure he's going to be a little bit disappointed in that, but what a great run for himself. I'm pretty sure easily led the most laps tonight, so something to build a little bit of momentum on him, a little bit of momentum going forward for himself. But I mean, Sam, Zach Hall, that's 3 wins in a row here in the playoffs at Indy Road Course, Atlanta Super Speedway here at Martinsville. And he's got a week off to prepare for Phoenix. And that might be the scariest thing to think of, is he's got all this momentum and an extra week to get ready for Phoenix. If I'm these other 3, if I'm Ross Tatum, Ken Campbell, Chris Stitz, I might be a little bit scared when we get to Phoenix in a couple weeks.
I would as well, as Zach was trying to do his imitation of Kyle Larson drifted around the course. Instead, he'll burn it down at turn 4. But I mean, talking about the momentum, this 32 even got a 2nd place at Las Vegas to start the playoffs off. So he has been on top of the world. But man, I cannot believe it. The regular season's done. The playoffs almost done as well. So we've got to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3 and a spotlight driver right after this. What a race we got to have. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series post-race show. After a fantastic cutoff race of the round of 8, we've got our 4 drivers about to be ready to talk to for interviews. We're still waiting on the official number of who is in or out of the Final 4. Let's talk to the one driver that we know 100% is in. He's been the hottest driver in the playoffs. It gets his 3rd win of the playoffs, his 7th overall of the season. We got Zach Hall with us. Zach, congratulations on the win. Man, how are you feeling after that one?
Oh man, excellent. It was so tough to pass tonight. I when I qualified bad like that, I mean, I was so surprised how much speed everybody picked up in qualifying. And I saw that I was 9th. I was just gonna be a long night. And after that first stage, I was like, it's gonna be a real long night because I mean, I was feeling the whole night that if I could just get clean track in front of me, my line would just be so much better. A lot of guys were just arcing it in real deep and opening up that entry, and I was just really shallow right on the curb, and I just felt like that was going to be the preferred groove all night long. And it kind of showed there, I think, when I got out front, because as soon as I got out there, I didn't have nobody really checking me up in the center or checking me up to the point where I got to their bumper and couldn't get to the gas. And it was a rocket ship. I don't know, that one. That was a good one, man. I'm happy to pull that off. It's good momentum again. I break the streak of when I get wins here. It's 2 in a row. So we got 3 in a row heading into the final race, and that's the one that matters the most. Tonight I kind of came in here with no practice, nothing, just was kind of expecting, a decent race, and I really wanted to help Ken out more than anything and make sure some of these other guys that needed wins to get in couldn't do it. And luckily enough, we end up in victory lane once again.
I mean, Zach, you took my statistic that was kind of the running joke there for a couple of weeks. Absolutely shattered it. Get your 3rd win in a row. So thanks for ruining my statistics. But no, I mean, so 3 in a row. You get a week off to prepare for Phoenix. It looks like it's going to be you, Ken Campbell, Chris Stitz, and Ross Tatum. I mean, what are your thoughts, feelings, and what kind of preparation are you going to put into over the off week to get ready for Phoenix in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm gonna put a lot in, man. I didn't prep this week really too much. Was just kind of going to it, like I said, trying to help Ken out and make sure, if I was there to maybe win the race if someone else was threatening to get in with that. So, this week coming up, I know I'm gonna have a lot of help from buddies out there. I got to thank them a lot for, willing to come practice with me and give me that dirty air, because I'm gonna need it. I mean, more than anything, Phoenix, I do have concerns heading there because it just doesn't feel like a track that suits me too well, especially in these lower horsepower cars where it's not too much throttle control. It's really kind of just get out front and hold your track position. So this week, it's all going to be about focusing on just being fast. I'm not really worried too much about tire wear and nothing like that. I'm gonna worry about just getting really, really fast, putting down the perfect laps in qualifying so I can qualify up front and make the race easy on myself. I think that's the biggest thing you got to do with these trucks is when you get out front, it just makes everything that much more easy. So this week, it's all going to be prepping for qualifying and just making sure we're good on pit road, good on it. Really, if any strategy comes our way, we're going to be definitely thinking it over. So I'm going to try my best. I mean, I got 3 other competitors that are tough competitors that, I mean, they're there week in and week out. And I'm going to have to be what I've been the last 3 weeks if I want to go out there and get that championship that, it looks like could be there for me.
Well, it certainly does look like it's in your hands here, Zach, to go for that championship with having the most wins and the stats all showing that you are the driver to watch out for. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, first off, shout out to my amazing teammates. It's been a great season for us at Freaky Fast Racing, and thank you to Freaky Fast for coming on board with our team and us being able to sport the colors there for that. And it's just been really special to race with Andrew and Ken. They've been, I mean, literally the best teammates a guy could ask for. And I'm sure this week heading up to Phoenix, me and Ken will continue what we've been doing all week and sharing info because I want him to be at his best to beat me, and I want to be at my best to beat him. So I think that's where the sharing of info will still continue to flow back and forth between us. So I appreciate those guys so much. Also, shout out to Full Send Racing here. Just one of the best leagues to race in. It's a blast to come out here every Tuesday night. I get so excited to come out here. All the amazing sponsors that help put it on here. And then most of all, to you guys up in the booth that put on the show. Also, shout out to Tom Sinchek and Brandon Colley out there. They were in the spotter booth tonight. So I had 2 different voices telling me what was working and wasn't. And I think that helped me see a little bit of the outside perspective for sure.
Well, congratulations, Zach, on another win for yourself. And good luck in 2 weeks for that championship race.
Thank you, guys.
Well, we go from that of first place. We got a driver that's going to come away with 7 wins, but a driver that's fallen to second place 7 times. We got Ross Tatum with us. Ross, you come away second for another week. I know it's not the position you want to be in, but man, how are you feeling after the run that you had this evening?
I'm feeling great, man. I made no enemies. I didn't hit anybody. Ran a clean race. Got 0x at Martinsville. So no complaints tonight. Honestly, a pretty good Martinsville race for a league. So it's been a fun night. A little hard to pass tonight, but it was a lot of fun.
I mean, Ross, we heard from Zach that it was definitely hard to get by. Both of y'all kind of qualified a little lower down in the field than I think we would have normally expected to see y'all. I mean, what was it? Was it like getting up through the field tonight? And what are your expectations going into Phoenix in 2 weeks?
Yeah, tonight was tough. It was a lot like the next gens that you see in real life. I mean, you couldn't get a run off the corner to pass anybody. You really had to wait till the person in front of you messed up their rear tires or messed up the corner. So I was able to pass a few people in that second run, and it really set me up for the rest of the race. But as far as Phoenix next week, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. I might have to practice this week because I haven't ran Phoenix in a long time. It's usually an okay track for me, but there's definitely some stuff I'm going to have to work on before next week, especially in the pits. I keep losing positions, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's got 4 great competitors going for the championship, so it should be a lot of fun next week.
Well, Ross, we can't wait to see how you're going to perform next week. But talking about having no enemies, how does that make you feel, knowing that you haven't really made any enemies heading into a championship race in 2 weeks?
It feels good. I don't really want to race anyone dirty. I definitely get frustrated with people occasionally, like I did last Thursday, but I usually try to keep a cool head. It's always worked out for me to not make enemies, and hopefully, when I need a position here or there next week, I can get it without a lot of hassle. And it's important, especially at a track like Martinsville. I knew I just needed to get good stage points and then have a decent finish. I didn't have to finish that good tonight, so I just wanted to ride around. I was hoping there at the end I might be able to catch Zach, but at the same time I wasn't going to hit him to pass him, so I was kind of stuck in a box. But that's just how it is sometimes when you points race for these championship races.
Ross, it was a great run here this evening. Congratulations once again on second. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Thanks, guys. Well, tonight I wrote down the thanks people because I always forget people. So I got to thank Will Bustler for making my awesome paint schemes. Everyone go check out Bustler Racing Designs on Trading Paints. He does such a great job. He'll paint up a scheme for you pretty much as quick as you ask for one. So he's really good. I got to thank my teammates, Jonathan, Chris Wade, and Will. They all did a pretty good job tonight. It's too bad Wade couldn't make it. I got to thank Next Level Sim Racing, ButtKicker, and Lap Traffic Podcast. Those guys do a great job sponsoring the league. They bring a lot to the league, and hopefully all of us can go and support them. And then you guys are Freaky Fast. You guys are the best. I still might sign up for the 600-mile race reluctantly, but I feel like I need to do it to support you guys because it's a great cause of the charities that you guys represent. It's always a really fun, cool deal that you guys do. And just got to thank Steve and Travis for putting on an awesome league. Steve's got his work cut out for him tonight after all the wrecks. But yeah, looking forward to next week. Should be a lot of fun, and hopefully we can come out on top.
We can't wait to see how you perform that in 2 weeks, Ross. Congratulations again, and good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we go from that of second place. Let's go to third, where we get to talk to the driver. We got to see how he was feeling after winning the stage. Comes away third, though, at the end of the day. Austin, it's Sam and Trevor up the booth. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, you come away with third position. Still not a bad day for this 8-team machine. How are you feeling, though, with your performance this evening?
I feel like I was running pretty solid. I think Zach was just running a different line than me, and that's why he ended up getting around me, and then my tires were gone. I kind of obviously disappointed not to win this, get my first career win, but like move on to the next race. Yeah.
I mean, Austin, I think this, if I'm not mistaken, ties your best finish of the year. I think you also got third at North Wilkesboro. But I mean, building a little bit of momentum. I mean, you got a week off, and we go to Phoenix, and then we're off. But building the momentum before going into next season. I mean, how are you feeling about Phoenix, and then next season?
Well, Phoenix, I do like a little bit. I haven't run there in a while, but I feel like I can perform decently well just because it is a shorter track, and I've performed pretty well in this league on the shorter tracks. But with next year, I actually don't know if I'm running next year at the moment. I already do run a lot of days in the week, and I kind of need an off week, especially since this is like in the middle of my like 5-day stretch. And also at the moment, I don't have a team for next year. So yeah, I don't. We'll see where I go from here, though.
Well, after your performance here tonight and the way that you've been performing at the short tracks, I wouldn't be surprised if a team doesn't pick you up, Austin. It's been great to watch you run. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Well, yeah, I'd like to thank my parents, obviously, for letting me run this league. I know my grandma likes to watch these races. I don't know if she's watching right now. It's a bit late where she is. I guess my little brother for not annoying me right now when I'm doing these. Then my teammates, John and Josh. I know Josh got into it a little bit with Chris earlier, but he's been a great help in this league and helped me definitely get to the front of some of these races.
Well, Austin, it's been great to watch you in the way that you've been running these last couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll be talking to you in victory lane here shortly. But before we let you go, gotta say congratulations and good luck at Phoenix in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Well, that is going to be your third place finisher, and we heard about the Chris Stitz and Joshua Altus incident. Well, let's bring in one of those drivers and who we believe should be moving on to race for a championship in 2 weeks. We got Chris Stitz with us. Chris, certainly tonight was a roller coaster of an evening, but you come away in 14th spot where we believe that should be enough points to make it into the final four. But man, how are you feeling after tonight's race?
Well, I'm definitely feeling a lot of emotions all at the same time. A little bit of frustration, and of course the joy. If I actually made it, that'd be crazy. That awesome, like crazy. If you guys are correct on that, awesome. Like, wow. I didn't think I was gonna make it.
I mean, we think based off of points and finishing, you should be good. But I mean, Chris, we with us being fairly certain that you made it. I mean, we talked to Ross and say not making enemies going into the championship race, he felt like was a good thing. I mean, do you feel like you have enemies that you potentially have to worry about next week at Phoenix as you try to race Zach, Ken and Ross for a championship?
Potentially I feel like I may have made a enemy tonight, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's anyone else in the field that I've roughed the wrong way, maybe. And if I have, I surely have apologized for it on private messages. But if I made an enemy tonight, so be it. I will race people the way they race me, and if you are going to turn me for no reason after I give you a little bit of retaliation, then so be it.
I mean, Chris, it really did seem like it was just short track racing at its finest with tempers starting to flare up there. But we're then going to Phoenix in 2 weeks. How are you feeling about going to that track, and how do you feel like you can perform if you are in the final four to run for a championship?
I'm actually really excited about Phoenix. I was really hoping I would make the championship for that exact reason. 2 seasons ago in trucks, I actually won that race to lock myself into the second round of the playoffs, I believe. So I'm looking to do that again, and hopefully it's a championship this time.
Well, we're hoping that it is as well, Chris. Congratulations on at least surviving the night. No, it was a crazy one. At least you finished it. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
I'd like to thank my dad at home who's watching, been a supporter for me all season. Been really nice to have him behind me. And of course, everyone that is in charge of this league between Travis, John, and all the admins, Ken, and Steve Benjamin, Race Control, they all do a fantastic job every week, week in, week out, getting penalties correct, getting drivers sorted out where they're supposed to be. And it's been very professional, and I absolutely enjoy running this league. So if there's anyone watching and you are looking for a league to join, this one's it.
Well, Chris, it's been great talking to you, but hopefully we'll be talking to you in a victory lane in 2 weeks. Congratulations again on finishing, and good luck in 2 weeks.
Yep, thank you guys, and thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you for giving us the show. That's going to be the 17 machine of Chris Stitz. And as we're done with our interviews, let's go take a look at the unofficial results. As again, we do not have 100% confirmation on who's in the final four. We do know that Zach Hall's in it 100% because he's won today and last week. We believe Ross Tatum and Ken Campbell, based off the amount of points that they've grabbed and where they finished this evening, they should be good to move on. It's that final spot. Chris Stitz, based on where we think the drivers finished, we don't have any extra bonus points besides stage bonus points. That's what we're basing it off of, on the fact that Chris Stitz should be all right on points. But here's where the drivers finished this evening. Zach Hall coming away in first, Ross Tatum second, Austin Cole third, Cameron Sarton in a must-win scenario, he'll fall to fourth position, Andrew Medlin in fifth, Brian Cole, fill-in driver in sixth, Ken Campbell seventh, Kyle Carpenter in eighth, Christopher Norris filling in this evening in ninth, and finishing out our top 10, it's Will Bustler.
Yeah, and those two, that driver in question, John Dart down there in 12th, Chris Stitz in 14th. That's kind of why we think Chris should be good based off the one bonus point he got in the stage and the finishing order. John just didn't make up enough points to gain that spot away from Chris. But Nick Holland with issues tonight down there in 17th, Philip Chavez, Ryan Lynch, Case Beer, Bill Dart all had their issues tonight, finished down there in 19th, 20th, and 21st and 22nd. But Sam, I mean, what a wild race. And by the way, Brian Cole filling in gets a 6th place finish tonight. I think his best finish that he's had as a fill-in driver, so a really good run for that 9 machine tonight. But I mean, Martinsville, was it what you expected to see tonight, or was it a little bit more chaos than maybe you were anticipating?
I think the fact of the drivers that were involved with some of the drama, the fact that we had Joshua Altus and Chris Stitz involved with one another, I think that was the biggest shock, because we had playoff contenders caught up in messes. But I mean, it certainly did bring out the short track tempers that we're used to seeing, and as well hit the window of cautions we were expecting as well. So overall, I would count this as a normal, traditional Martinsville race. The drama that was necessary, and it just makes me more excited for 2 weeks when we get to see that championship race.
Oh, the drama building up, and like Chris said, I'm going to race people the way they race me, and if I made an enemy, so be it. So that'll be interesting to see how that's going to play out for the 17 machine heading into Phoenix in 2 weeks. But he sounds confident about it, so I'm excited to get to Phoenix and watch what's going to happen between Zach Hall, Ken Campbell, Ross Tatum, and Chris Stitz to race for that championship, and what kind of racing we're going to see out of those four when we get to that championship race.
Yeah, I mean, that race is going to be so impactful on how these drivers, who's going to step up. I mean, Ross Tatum is the only former champion of the series, because the 2-time champ of Cameron Sarton will not be running for a championship. He was in a must-win scenario, did not get the win that was necessary to move on. And now we're down to 3 drivers that have never won a championship before and one that has. I cannot wait to see how it all goes down again in 2 weeks. Next week is Memorial Weekend. Drivers are taking the week off. We'll be back June 6th, and what a week to be back, as that will also be the week that we have our charity event. For us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we got one more race this week. That's going to be Saturday night for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, as it is their second to last race of the playoffs as they head to the 2008 configuration of Atlanta in the Next Gen Cup cars. Should be a good race. Then we're off next week on Tuesday, back to WSSR, and then in 2 weeks, it is the championship race. Who will take the championship? Cannot wait for it. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Dad Trevor Earhart, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us on your Tuesday night. We'll see you in 2 weeks for that of the championship race. But until then, we'll see you Saturday for our next Freaky Fast Broadcast.